Everyone wants to be noticed. Everyone wants to be respected. But few people realize that all of that begins with a single decision to focus on yourself like your life depends on it, because guess what? It actually does. You can't pour from an empty cup. You can't help others if you're drowning, and you can't win in life if you're too busy watching someone else's game. The world is loud. It's constantly demanding your attention. Social media, opinions, drama, gossip, relationships, problems you didn't create, and obligations you don't even care about. But there's a truth nobody told you in school. If you don't focus on yourself, you'll end up living a life you didn't choose. You'll wake up one day and realize that you became the version of yourself that others expected, not the one you were destined to be. And that's the beginning of regret. That's the death of your potential. That's why you must start now, not tomorrow, not next year, now. Because the only person who's going to rescue you from this world of distractions, comparisons, and illusions is you. Focusing on yourself is not selfish. It's survival. That idea alone can radically shift how you live your life. In a world that constantly demands your attention, energy, and emotional investment, you have to make a conscious decision to turn inward, not because you're abandoning others, but because you're finally choosing to stop abandoning yourself. There's a massive difference between self-centeredness and self-respect. The former seeks to take from others to feel powerful, while the latter is rooted in protecting and nurturing your own identity so you can be of value to the world around you. Too many people have been conditioned to believe that putting themselves first is wrong, that prioritizing your mental health, your peace, your purpose is somehow a betrayal to others. But the truth is, you cannot be good for anyone if you are not good to yourself first. You cannot help others if you're emotionally empty. You can't lead, support, or even show up fully if you're barely functioning inside. When you neglect your needs, when you sacrifice your boundaries to make others comfortable, when you silence your voice to keep the peace, you're not being noble. You're slowly destroying yourself. People who truly love and respect you will understand that your self-focus is not an insult to them. It's a necessity for you. And those who don't understand, they've only benefited from your lack of boundaries. The moment you begin to focus on yourself, your healing, your goals, your well-being, you'll notice some people will distance themselves. That's not your loss, that's exposure. It reveals who was truly for you and who is just there for the version of you that didn't know your worth. You're not here to exist for other people's comfort. You're not here to constantly explain your growth. You're here to evolve into your highest self, and that takes focus, discipline, and clarity. It takes the courage to say no to things that feel good but go nowhere. It takes the strength to walk away from people who love the broken version of you because they fear your strength, and it takes deep, uncomfortable honesty to look at your life and admit what needs to change. Focusing on yourself is not about shutting others out. It's about finally letting yourself in. It's about reconnecting with your inner voice, the one that got buried under people-pleasing, overthinking, insecurity, and external pressure. When you put yourself at the center of your own life, you take responsibility. You stop blaming, you stop waiting, and you start creating. You start building routines that honor your future. You start setting boundaries that protect your peace. You start acting like your goals matter, because they do. No one is going to do this for you. No one is coming to save you. If you don't take control of your life, someone else will. And they won't do it with your best interest in mind. You either decide who you want to become, or the world will decide for you. You don't need to feel guilty for focusing on yourself. You need to feel guilty for not doing it sooner. Because the longer you delay this shift, the longer you live a life that doesn't reflect your real potential. And that's not just a loss for you. That's a loss for everyone you could have impacted had you chosen to rise. So choose to rise, choose to refocus, choose to survive by putting yourself first, not out of selfishness, but out of survival. Because everything you're looking for, clarity, peace, power, healing, it all begins the moment you decide that you are worth the effort, that you deserve your own attention, and that your life truly depends on how deeply you're willing to focus on yourself. Distraction is the silent killer of your potential. It doesn't show up with alarms or flashing lights. It doesn't scream at you or demand your attention all at once. It creeps in quietly, slowly pulling you away from what matters most, until one day you wake up and realize you've been busy but not productive, active but not advancing. Every moment you give to meaningless scrolling, gossip, drama, procrastination, or things that have nothing to do with your vision is a moment stolen from your greatness. And the most dangerous part, you don't feel it right away. The damage isn't immediate. It's invisible at first. But over time, it compounds. It adds up. And what it steals from you is something you'll never get back: time. Distraction isn't just a modern-day problem. It's a mental trap that keeps you from becoming who you were meant to be. You can be talented, intelligent, and ambitious, but if you don't master your focus, you'll never see the results you're capable of. Most people lose not because they lack skill, but because they lack clarity. They let everything in. They let their phone dictate their priorities. They let other people's opinions shape their direction. They let urgency hijack purpose, and little by little, their dreams get buried under the noise of 1,000 unimportant things. You have to guard your attention like your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. Your future is built on what you focus on today. If you give your energy to temporary pleasures, you'll end up with permanent regrets. You can't build a legacy while constantly reacting. You can't discover your purpose when your mind is scattered. Focus is how you turn ideas into reality, and focus is a skill that must be trained. You don't wait for the world to get quiet. You create silence in your own space. You don't wait for motivation to strike. You remove the noise and get to work anyway, because what separates the successful from the stuck isn't intelligence, it's intentional focus. We live in a world where you are rewarded for being available, responsive, always on, but that's a trap. If you're always available to everyone else, you'll never be available to yourself. Your greatest breakthroughs will not come from group chats, social media feeds, or checking your email every 10 minutes. They will come in solitude, in stillness, in deep, uninterrupted focus on what truly matters. The hard truth is that distraction feels good in the moment. That's why it's so powerful. It gives you an escape from discomfort, from discipline, from the grind of building something meaningful. But every time you choose comfort over commitment, you delay your dreams. And life won't wait for you to finally get serious. The clock is ticking whether you focus or not. To cut the noise. Turn off the world if you have to. You owe it to yourself to find out what your life could look like if you actually gave it your full attention. Imagine what would happen if for the next 6 months, you locked in and made your goals the center of your energy, not your distractions, not your drama, just your goals. That kind of focus is rare, and that kind of focus is what changes everything. Your potential is not a guessing game. It's a seed that only grows when you protect it, and the most fertile soil is your attention. So if you truly want to change your life, start by changing your focus, because the world isn't stealing your dreams. Your distractions are, and only you have the power to take that control back. Growth must become an obsession, not a wish. Wishing is passive. It's what people do when they're inspired for a moment, but lack the discipline to follow through. It's easy to want change. Everyone wants to be better, do more, live free, and feel fulfilled. But very few are willing to get uncomfortable long enough to actually transform. Real growth isn't convenient. It doesn't happen when you feel like it. It requires you to chase it relentlessly, even on the days when everything in you wants to stay the same. You have to want growth like your future depends on it, because it does. You have to want it more than sleep, more than comfort, more than the approval of others. You have to want it when it gets hard, when no one is watching, when no one is clapping, and when your old life tries to pull you back. Growth doesn't reward those who are interested. It rewards those who are obsessed. Obsession means you stop negotiating with yourself. It means your excuses stop having power. It means you stop waiting for the right time because you understand that growth doesn't run on your schedule. It runs on your hunger. Growth requires repetition. It demands consistency in silence. And the people who truly grow are the ones who keep showing up without external validation. They don't need the applause because they've already made up their mind that they're not going back. And that decision, that mental shift is where the obsession begins. When you cross that threshold, there is no more entertaining old habits. There is no more wishing you had more time. There is no more looking around for motivation. You become your own fuel. You become a person who does the work regardless of the mood. You have to understand that the version of you that is living your dream life is not far away. It's just buried under layers of comfort, fear, distraction, and laziness. Obsession with growth is what chips away at that layer every single day. And little by little, that stronger version of you begins to rise. But it only happens when you stop treating growth like a hobby and start treating it like a mission. You don't get in shape by going to the gym once a week. You don't master your craft by practicing only when inspired. You don't build a powerful mindset by reading one quote and calling it a day. It takes repetition, focus, failure, learning, and relentless forward motion. Some people will call it extreme. They'll say you're doing too much, that you should relax, that you've changed. But that's the point. Growth is extreme in a world that worships comfort. And the truth is, the ones who think you're changing too much are often the ones who fear their own stagnation. Don't let that stop you. Don't water yourself down to make others feel okay with staying the same. You must be obsessed with learning, healing, evolving, and leveling up because no one else is going to do that work for you. The dream life you want, the freedom you crave, the peace you seek, it's all waiting on the other side of who you've decided to become. And you can't wish your way into that version of you. You have to work your way into it with fire in your eyes and purpose in your heart. Obsession isn't a flaw. When it's aimed at growth, it's your superpower. Use it. Let it consume the old you and create someone unrecognizable. Someone who doesn't just want change, but becomes the proof that change is possible. Not everyone can come with you. As harsh as it sounds, it's one of the most important truths you must accept if you're serious about evolving. The path to growth is not crowded. It's lonely. And that's not a mistake. It's a filter. Life doesn't strip people away to hurt you. It does it to reveal who is truly meant to walk with you into your next level. The truth is, when you decide to focus on yourself, shift your mindset, elevate your standards, and pursue a higher version of you, you'll trigger discomfort in those who are committed to staying the same. People who once celebrated you might begin to question you. Those who once supported you might begin to distance themselves. And sometimes the ones you love the most won't recognize the new you. That's not your fault, and it's not your responsibility to shrink back to make them feel better. Growth demands space. It needs silence. It requires a detachment from familiar energies that keep you grounded in your past. You cannot take everyone with you into your healing, your success, or your transformation because not everyone is willing to do the work it takes to get there. Some people will love the version of you that doesn't set boundaries, that's always available, that tolerates being used or underestimated. But the moment you decide you're worth more, the moment you start acting like your life matters, some of those same people will feel offended. And that's your proof. That's how you know who's really in your corner. Not everyone can handle your rise because your growth reminds them of their own stagnation. You'll lose friends, you'll outgrow environments, you'll feel disconnected from places and people that once made you feel safe. And that can hurt. It really can. But what hurts more is living a life that's beneath your potential just to keep others comfortable. You weren't put here to carry everyone. You weren't made to convince people of your worth. And you certainly weren't created to dim your light so others don't feel insecure. You were made to grow, to evolve, to inspire. And that can't happen if you keep tying your future to people who are only familiar with your past. Letting go doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care enough about yourself to move forward without emotional chains holding you back. You can love people from a distance. You can wish them well and still walk away, not out of bitterness, but out of clarity. Because when you truly begin to value your peace, your purpose, and your power, you stop negotiating with energy that drains you. You stop apologizing for your growth. You stop asking for permission to evolve. Every next level of your life will require a new version of you, and not everyone will recognize or accept that version. That's okay. Your journey is personal. Your transformation is sacred. You are not responsible for bringing people along who refuse to grow. If someone chooses to stay stuck, that is their path. Don't let their fear become your ceiling. Don't let their comfort become your cage. There is power in solitude. There is clarity in walking alone. There is strength in knowing that anyone who is truly aligned with your future will meet you there. Not by force, not by guilt, but by choice. Let them go if they need to go. Release them with love and keep moving forward. Because the road you're on now is too important to be slowed down by people who can't or won't grow with you. Not everyone can come with you, and that's exactly how it's meant to be. Self-respect is the foundation of every powerful decision you'll ever make in your life. Without it, you'll find yourself chasing validation, tolerating disrespect, and settling for things that go against your own values. But when you respect yourself, everything changes. You walk differently, think differently, and move with a quiet strength that commands better, not by force, but by presence. Self-respect isn't loud or arrogant. It's rooted in knowing your worth, even when no one else does. It's about setting standards not to impress others, but to honor yourself. When you truly begin to respect yourself, you stop explaining your worth and start enforcing your boundaries. It's easy to say you want more from life, but real transformation starts when you say, I refuse to allow anything in my life that disrespects who I am becoming. That means relationships that drain you have to go. Environments that keep you small have to be left. Conversations that mock your dreams must be silenced. And more importantly, the negative self-talk in your own mind must be challenged, because often the deepest disrespect we endure doesn't come from others. It comes from the way we treat ourselves. You can't expect the world to value you when you don't value yourself. People can sense it. Energy doesn't lie. When you raise your level of self-respect, you stop showing up to prove yourself. You start showing up to protect your peace. You become less reactive to disrespect because you don't even stay close enough to it to be affected. You no longer waste energy trying to win over people who misunderstand you. You simply let your growth speak. You move in alignment, you honor your time, and you develop the courage to walk away from anything that doesn't match your vision, even if it's that kind of discipline creates an aura of confidence that can't be faked. But self-respect isn't just about walking away from what hurts you. It's also about walking toward what heals you. It's choosing discipline over impulse, clarity over chaos, growth over comfort. It's holding yourself accountable even when no one is watching. It's not always easy. There will be days when choosing self-respect feels lonely. You'll question whether you're being too harsh, too guarded, too distant. But every time you choose yourself, you reinforce a powerful message to your soul. I am worth protecting. And over time, that message becomes your identity. You no longer ask for permission to dream, to grow, to heal, or to evolve. You just do it. Because that's what someone with self-respect does. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being intentional. It's about recognizing that you've spent too much time breaking yourself down to fit into places you've outgrown. And now it's time to rebuild. Not for others, but for you. Because when you respect yourself, your decisions are no longer based on fear. They're based on alignment. You're no longer trying to fit in. You're trying to become the person you were always meant to be. And sometimes that means outgrowing people, habits, or even parts of your old identity. That's not loss. That's evolution. When self-respect becomes your standard, your life begins to reflect it. You attract better, you allow less, you grow faster, and most importantly, you begin to trust yourself in a way you never have before. That trust becomes your compass. That inner knowing becomes your power. And with that power, there's nothing and no one you have to chase. And once you fully embody that truth, the world has no choice but to treat you accordingly. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you're trying to become. Motivation might get you started, but it will fail you the moment life gets inconvenient. Discipline is what stays when the excitement fades. It's what carries you through the days when you don't feel like showing up. And those days matter the most because anyone can commit when it's easy, when it's fun, when it's fresh. But only those who are disciplined show up when it's hard, when no one's watching, and when the results haven't shown up yet. Discipline is not punishment. It's self-respect in motion. It's you telling yourself, I am worth the effort, even when I don't feel like it. It's training your mind to obey your higher self instead of your emotions. Because emotions are temporary. They fluctuate. They lie. One day you feel like working, the next day you don't. One day you're inspired, the next day you're tired. If you let your emotions lead, you'll build nothing but cycles of inconsistency. But when discipline leads, progress becomes inevitable. You don't become powerful by doing what you want when you want. You become powerful by doing what you must no matter what. And that requires discipline. Waking up early to build your dream when you'd rather sleep. Saying no to distractions that feel good in the moment but cost you long term. Sticking to your plan when everyone around you is giving up. These small decisions made consistently become the habits that shape your entire life. Discipline is how you take control of your story. It's how you stop reacting to life and start creating it on your terms. Most people don't lack talent, vision, or potential. They lack the discipline to bring their vision to life. They start strong, but fall off because they expect the journey to feel good all the time. But growth doesn't work that way. It's uncomfortable. It's repetitive. It's slow at times. And that's exactly why discipline is so rare, because it demands that you continue, even when there's no applause, no guarantee, and no immediate payoff. But the reward of discipline is far greater than any temporary comfort. The reward is transformation. True discipline also means keeping promises to yourself, not just the big ones, but the small daily ones. When you tell yourself you're going to do something and follow through, you build trust with yourself. That trust becomes self-confidence, and that confidence becomes momentum. You stop relying on outside forces to keep you going because you've proven to yourself that you don't need permission to be consistent. You don't need motivation to be great. You just need a decision and the discipline to follow through on it every day. There will be days when you question if it's worth it, days when progress feels invisible. But those are the days that matter the most. Because every time you show up when it's hard, you grow. Every time you choose discipline over excuses, you elevate. You're not just building habits, you're building identity. And the person you're becoming will thank you for not quitting when it was tempting. Discipline isn't something you're born with. It's something you develop. One decision at a time, one day at a time. It's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. It's about doing the work when it's boring, when it's tiring, when it's thankless. That's where the edge is. That's where the separation happens between those who dream and those who build. Discipline is the difference. And when you master it, there's nothing you can't achieve. When you focus on yourself, the entire direction of your life changes. You stop waiting for external permission to grow, to heal, to become. You stop hoping others will come along and fix things for you. You realize that the power to shift your life was always inside you, not in your circumstances, not in your relationships, not in your past, but in your ability to commit to yourself completely. Focusing on yourself is not selfish. It's survival. It's awakening. It's reclaiming all the energy you've been pouring into people who didn't appreciate it, into situations that didn't serve you, and into distractions that kept you small. The moment you truly focus on yourself, distractions start to lose their grip. You begin to recognize how much time you wasted on things that didn't move your life forward. You stop giving energy to every opinion, every rejection, every delay. Instead, you develop tunnel vision, clarity that cuts through the noise. You no longer feel the need to explain yourself or prove your worth. You simply work, improve, and let your results speak. This type of focus is rare because it demands sacrifice. It requires you to let go of comfort, of convenience, of validation. But what it gives you in return is unmatched self-mastery, momentum, and peace. Focusing on yourself forces you to face your own patterns. There's no more hiding behind blame. You start owning your flaws, your mindset, your habits, and that level of honesty can be uncomfortable, but it's also liberating because once you take full responsibility, you also claim full power. You stop waiting for the perfect moment and start creating progress in real time. You start building a life that's designed for growth, not approval. You choose solitude over chaos, discipline over distraction, and progress over perfection. There's a shift that happens when you make yourself your priority. Your energy changes. You become less reactive and more intentional. You're no longer pulled in 100 directions. Because you know exactly where you're going. And when people try to pull you back into the old version of you, the one who tolerated nonsense, made excuses, or played small, you no longer feel the need to engage. That version of you is gone, and you're not available for conversations that don't match your future. Focusing on yourself also sharpens your intuition. You begin to notice what drains you and what fuels you. You pay attention to your mental, physical, and emotional energy like never before. You start making choices that align with peace, purpose, and progress. And as you do, your confidence rises, not because everything's perfect, but because you trust yourself more. You trust your decisions, your timing, and your growth process. That trust becomes your foundation. It keeps you grounded when things get chaotic. It reminds you that as long as you keep showing up for yourself, nothing can truly stop you. People might not understand your focus at first. They might say you've changed, and that's okay. You're supposed to. You're not here to stay stagnant or live a recycled version of last year. You're here to evolve, to become. And that demands a level of focus that most people are not willing to maintain. But you are, because you've seen what happens when you lose yourself trying to please everyone else. And now you're ready to see what happens when you finally choose you. In the end, focusing on yourself isn't about becoming selfish. It's about becoming whole. It's about protecting your energy, honoring your path, and committing to the person you were born to be. When you do that consistently, everything else begins to shift. Opportunities align, peace increases, clarity sharpens, and life finally starts to feel like it's yours again. Because now it is.